Chicago Bears get lucky as Justin Jefferson was added to the IR and will miss the game against the Chicago Bears this upcoming Sunday. We're going to discuss that, plus Matt Eberflus looking for a new senior defensive analyst, and the Bears have announced a couple of players returned from injury reserve. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the show at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the content for today. And first up, Justin Jefferson, the wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings, was added to injury reserve. That means he's going to be out for a handful of weeks. This is a guy who has 571 yards receiving on the year, plus 3 touchdowns. And, him missing the shot, I wish injury on no one, right? I want to be clear with that. I wish injury on nobody at all, but it's kind of the nature of the game. 5 games played so far in this season, averaging over 100 yards per game. He was definitely on pace to break 1,000 yards again this season. But, I'll say this, with the Bears trying to, no one's taking, any pity on the Bears. And so with Jefferson being down, the Chicago Bears get a lucky break, and they have to come in and take advantage of that because you have now removed one of the major weapons from the Minnesota Vikings. And so, can the Bears capitalize on that? That remains to be seen, and we'll see how the defense and the secondary, who's getting, some players back in that secondary with Jalen Johnson. And what we're going to talk about next is that, Kyler Gordon being on the return now from injury reserve. He's been taken off of that. He's returning to practice this week now. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be active, right? He has to be activated within 21 days or he'll go back to injury reserve. So, we'll see what happens with the Bears. I'm sure they're going to look at him, that hand, see how he's feeling there. But we need him back, right? And even with Greg Stroman Jr., with Tyreek Stevenson looking solid as well. It's going to help the Bears' depth overall that these guys had to be thrust into starting positions. But Kyler Gordon was set and primed to seem like to have a big season. So, excited to see what Kyler Gordon's going to look like upon his return. The defense has been improving overall as well. Let's see if that continues that trend and helps that, right? Kyler Gordon and the defense and players coming back from injury were one of the things I talked about in yesterday's episode and saying why things are actually looking up for the Chicago Bears going forth into the rest of the regular season. So, having Kyler Gordon return is a big part of that. And then also Doug Kramer as well, the other center, a second-year center as well, who was, he's been inactive since the final preseason game, hasn't played a regular season game yet. He's also now activated. And considering the struggles we've had at that center position, am I saying that Doug Kramer is going to come right in and fix that all? No, not at all. We'll see how he's worked, if he even cracks and makes that rotation. But I will say this, is that Doug Kramer is a player that the Bears do believe in. They look at Doug Kramer, and whether they see him as a future starting center or they see him as a depth piece, whatever it is, they are invested in the future of Doug Kramer, at least up until this point. Excited to see him get a chance to get out there, what he looks like, to see if he can help as this offensive line is improving overall, right? And you may want to take a look at a second-year center if Cody Whitehair continues to struggle, for example, and while you're having players like Nate Davis, Tevin Jenkins getting back to going full go, Darnell Wright's been looking pretty good. You may feel comfortable taking the chance at the second-year player, right? So we'll end up seeing if he does crack that rotation. Not necessarily saying he's going to come right out or start or anything for the Chicago Bears, but, we'll end up seeing. Now, going into the next bit of news that we have on this episode, which is going to be a shorter episode, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys that now. Matt Eberflus has released that they are looking for a senior defensive specialist to kind of help this team figure some things out, maybe identify some things that they've been missing. Matt Eberflus saying this: relative to the position on defense we're looking at right now, that position really for me is more of a senior defensive analyst that would do advanced work for us for our upcoming opponent. Will give us certain ideas and things how to attack that upcoming opponent and just get another set of ideas in advance for us. Again, I don't have names. I don't have a timetable for that right now at this time, but that would be going shortly. We're looking forward to adding that if we choose to do that. And here's what I'll say, right? Matt Eberflus, you guys know, I've said it already. There's not much Matt Eberflus can do, I think, this season that will completely turn me from where I am right now of thinking the Bears need to move on from him as the head coach. But it's good that he's identifying that they need some help, right? And of course, he's framing it around the thing of, well, we want them to do some advanced, scouting for us, right? Go out there and tell us, scout that upcoming opponent. Tell us, help us game plan for that upcoming opponent, things like that. But listen, the more eyes on the product that you can, and sometimes when you're so zoomed in, right? Matt Eberflus helped pick the players. It's his scheme. It's his system. You need another set of eyes that can come in and be honest with you with where you are, right? Especially if it's somebody coming from the outside in at this point in the season, right? Going through week 5. If that's the case, then, hey, so be it, right? Anything that helps this team, I'm not necessarily going to knock at all, right? If it helps, it helps. And right now, what we need is the most help that we can get to help just improve how things have been for the Chicago Bears team so far this season. It's been ugly. And the defense, while showing some signs for improvement in certain areas, has not been what we thought it was going to be coming into the season. So, we got some work that we need to do for sure. But listen, at the end of the day, the Bears have to be prepared for everything, right? You got to, excuse me, regardless of who's out there on the field or not, you have to be prepared. And we've seen this team, especially in second halves, not look quite prepared. If having an advanced scout, right, a senior analyst helps even, maybe help this team figure out what teams like to try to do in the second half of games, right, how they like to adjust to what certain teams are doing, what kind of their proclivities are, that can't do anything but help the Chicago Bears, right? And Matt Eberflus seems like somebody who needs some help right now. And like I said, I don't even mean that as a huge slight or diss to him. Listen, this team got one win on the season. And yes, the offenses look better over the last couple of weeks. The defenses even look better in certain spots as well. We got things that we absolutely need to improve on. And we're not going to improve on them. We're not going to be able to if this team if it's so zoomed in. You want that improvement. And, hopefully I'm not saying that a senior analyst coming in is just going to automatically go a long way into changing everything that's been really ailing this defense. But I tell you what, hopefully it doesn't hurt, right? I would say that it can't hurt. But then again, with the way that this NFL season has gone for the Bears, I don't even know, man. Anything is possible. They could bring in help and it could actually make the team worse. You just never know with the Chicago Bears team this season because it's been a season of frustration for many Bears fans. I've been included. My desk chair is still broke, y'all. It's still broke. It is what it is. As those that knew, I completely threw my desk chair. So, it is what it is, man. And we'll see what this team ends up doing, right? I gave it yesterday and talked about the fact that, there are tons of signs, a handful of signs that things may turn around for the Chicago Bears team. A handful of them. I'm not going to act like they're huge or anything like that, but there definitely are some signs for that. And if we do start turning it around and we get some more consistency out of, certain things in the way that we perform, specifically on that offensive side of the ball, the sky becomes the limit again for the Chicago Bears. But listen, Detroit is running away with the division right now. The Green Bay Packers, the Vikings, everyone else, they all, it looks like a division that, we're going to have our test in. We're going to, be able to beat a lot of the other teams, but the Bears still have an opportunity. You're not necessarily saying to win the division, but to turn the season around. Really, it depends on what your perspective on turning it around means for this team. I just want to see this team look like stop looking like a peewee team. And we've done that, right? We've really started coming around. And so, we'll end up seeing what happens. Right now, things are looking good for that pick from Carolina Panthers as well. So we're on Panthers watch all day, every day with that as well. But, like I said, let's hope that the Bears can start doing some things more consistently. We'll see what this week brings us as far as against the Minnesota Vikings. I'm really hoping for it. Listen, they had a mini bye week. And, we came out of the mini bye week last year when we had one looking like a much better team. So let's hope that this team has used that mini bye to really kind of solidify and strengthen the things they've been doing well over the last couple of weeks. And we'll see that against the Vikings on Sunday. Let me know what you guys think as always down below. Make sure you're following the show at Shy Bear Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, of course, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bears. Oh, no, sorry, that's wrong. Chi-Town up, Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.